Have you ever had someone in your own family make you feel like you don't belong? Like you're the outsider, even though you've done everything right? Yeah, welcome to my world. And trust me, what happened that night still lives rent-free in my mind. I'm Callie Monroe, 33 years old, a paramedic from Savannah, Georgia. The one job nobody in my family ever cared to understand. And honestly, I used to think their cold shoulders didn't get to me. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I was wrong. The night everything changed started at my grandma Lila's 85th birthday. The kind of backyard party where string lights glow soft, the grills smoke up the whole block, and everyone pretends we're one big happy family. Except we weren't, not even close. I'd barely stepped onto the lawn when I saw my brother Mason, already working the crowd like he was running for mayor. He's 28, a self-proclaimed entrepreneur, which in family speak means he hops between unfinished business ideas every 2 months. But you wouldn't know that from the way my parents orbit him like he's the sun itself. I got the usual greetings from the relatives, a few fake smiles, a couple of half hugs. And then, the moment I reached the drink table, Mason smirked at me over his bourbon glass. "Look who crawled out of her work van," he said loud enough for the entire row of cousins to hear. "Hope you didn't bring embarrassment with you this time, Cal." Aw, real nice, lil bro. A few cousins chuckled under their breath. My mom didn't even pretend to correct him. My dad gave that stiff nod he does when he agrees but wants to look neutral. But then, the real punch landed. Mason leaned closer, his smirk stretching meaner. "This family's honestly ashamed to share a last name with you." The words hit me so hard, I swear the evening air changed temperature. My fingers tightened around my lemonade glass. My throat went dry. Everyone heard it. Everyone froze. Then something wild happened. Grandma Lila, tiny, silver-haired, barely 5 feet tall, placed her teacup down with this slow, sharp little clink that cut straight through the noise. She didn't stand yet. She didn't speak yet. She just looked at Mason, and the look, whoa! Even the fire pit seemed to shut up and listen. That was the exact second I realized something huge was brewing under the surface, something Grandma knew, that none of us did. But before I get into the explosion that came after, the sentence that turned my brother's tan face ghost white, let me tell you how we even got here in the first place. Growing up, you'd think being the oldest kid meant something, but not in the Monroe house. Mom and Dad acted like having a son was some kind of divine gift. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the helper, the mature daughter, which is parent code for, "We're gonna ignore you unless we need something." While I was pulling straight A's, Mason was breaking windows with baseballs. They framed the baseballs. While I was studying for EMT certification, Mason was crashing Dad's truck. They blamed the truck. While I was saving strangers' lives at 3 a.m., Mason was posting shirtless gym selfies. They reposted them with heart emojis. So yeah, their golden boy act. I knew it. I lived it. I tolerated it. But I had no idea that Grandma had been watching every single moment, every single slight, every single dismissal, and quietly preparing a landmine under all of them. And it detonated that night. You won't believe how. I wish I could tell you I brushed off Mason's little "this family is ashamed of you" speech, but nah, it stung deep. Like someone reached into my chest and twisted. I just stood there on Grandma's patio, breathing slow, trying not to let the tears push through. I refused to cry in front of people who would collect my tears like trophies. But before I tell you about Grandma's comeback of the century, you need to know what led to this exact breaking point, all the little cuts that built up into the explosion. See, people think being a paramedic means I'm fearless. They don't see the nights I come home smelling like smoke, blood, and adrenaline. They don't see the moments I sit in my car after a brutal call and just wait for my heartbeat to slow down. But my parents never cared for hero stuff. They always preferred Mason stuff. Like when I saved a toddler from a drowning incident, Mom's only comment was, well. But Mason got accepted into a business mentorship last week. When I worked 3 double shifts during a hurricane rescue, Dad's response, your brother just pitched a new startup idea. Incredible, right? Even my graduation, they showed up late because Mason overslept. So, over time, I just stopped expecting anything from them. Except Grandma. She always saw me, the real me. She'd call me my firecracker, which sounds sweet until you realize she meant it literally, like she knew I was trying so hard not to explode. And boy, that night, the fuse was getting real short. Inside the tent, conversation started up again. Awkward and shaky, aunts pretending they didn't hear Mason's insult, cousins avoiding eye contact with me completely, Dad whispering something to Mason like, just leave it alone, even though he should have told him that before the mic drop insult moment. But then Grandma lifted her hand, slow, steady, the same way she used to when she was about to scold someone for tracking mud onto her porch. Callie, sweetheart, she said softly, come sit next to me. And the whole yard froze again. Mason's face snapped toward her like, huh? Since when does she get the front seat? I walked over, feeling like every eye was weighing me. When I sat down beside Grandma's chair, she patted my knee gently and then leaned closer. You've carried more than anyone in this family ever bothered to notice, she whispered. And tonight, it stops. Chills, actual chills. Her tone was so calm it almost scared me, but of course, Mason couldn't let anything not be about him. Grandma, seriously, he blurted from across the table. You're taking her side again? Over me? For what? She's a... Grandma lifted one finger. He shut up instantly. I know exactly who Callie is, she said, and who you've been pretending to be. You'd think someone turned the oxygen off. No one moved. No one blinked. Except Mason, who scoffed like a kid who just got told recess was canceled. He muttered something like, whatever, then chugged half his bourbon, pretending he wasn't bothered. But that man was shaking. Later, while guests lined up for food and the live band started tuning guitars, I slipped away toward the edge of the yard. Needed air, needed silence, needed something that didn't require me to perform. But the second I stepped under the magnolia tree, guess who followed? Yep, Mason. He shoved his hands in his pockets and leaned against the fence with that fake casual posture he uses when he's dying inside but wants to look cool. You know she's only doing this because you play the victim, he muttered. I laughed, an actual laugh. You insulted me in front of 30 people, Mason. And, he said, shrugging, everyone knows it's true. You're embarrassing. My jaw dropped. He really believed that. Like, genuinely. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't just rivalry. It wasn't jealousy. He thought he owned the family, owned Grandma, owned the future. And he had no idea that everything he believed was about to get blown sky high. Because what Grandma did next? Oh boy, he wasn't ready, not even close. And honestly, neither was I. Mason standing there under that magnolia tree, trying to act unbothered, was honestly hilarious. His nostrils were flaring, his jaw ticking. Dude looked like a malfunctioning robot trying to reboot its ego. You think Grandma's gonna save you? He scoffed. Please. She's always had a soft spot for broken things. Ouch! That one actually hit. But before I could fire back, Grandma's voice carried across the lawn. Firm, clear, and way louder than someone her age should be capable of. Mason, come here, now. Bro froze. He looked at me like, did she really just mom voice me in front of people? Oh, yes, sweet prince of entitlement. Yes, she did. He dragged himself across the yard, bourbon glass dangling from his fingertips like he was starring in a tragic soap opera. Guests paused mid-conversation, mid-bite, mid-sip. Even the band stopped tuning their guitars. When Mason reached her, Grandma didn't even look at him. Not right away. She just straightened the blanket over her lap, took a slow breath, and said, "You've forgotten who built this family and who's kept it standing." Mason blinked, clueless. "I mean, yeah, you started things, and I'm the one continuing." "No," Grandma cut in. "You're the one coasting." The silence. Devastating. You could practically hear the sound of Mason's pride cracking like old floorboards. "I've watched you brag," she continued calmly. "I've watched you take credit for things you never did. I've watched you disrespect people who work harder in one night than you have in a month." I swear I felt the entire atmosphere shift. Even the fireflies were like, "Whoa, drama." But worst of all, Grandma said, finally turning her eyes on him, "You have forgotten humility." Mason scoffed. "I'm not—" "You are," she snapped, and tonight proved it. Her voice didn't shake, not even once. And then something unexpected happened. Mason laughed. No, like, full-on laughed. This manic, desperate, delusional laugh that made two ants step back. "You're defending her," he said, pointing at me like I was an overdue bill. "Why? Because she works in an ambulance?" He put on a fake, dramatic voice. "Oh, look at me. I save people. Pity me." My brain straight up glitched. People gasped. One uncle whispered, "Jesus, Mason," under his breath. Even Dad rubbed a hand over his face like, "Boy, please stop talking." That's when Grandma stood up. Let me repeat that. Grandma stood up. This woman has arthritis so bad she normally needs both hands to get out of a recliner. But that night, she rose like she was fueled by sheer ancestral fury, and she stepped toward Mason. "You think accomplishment is something you perform?" she asked quietly. "You think respect is something people owe you by default? You think legacy is built on empty words and louder talking?" Mason swallowed. Hard. His bravado shrunk 3 sizes. "What are you saying?" he whispered. "I'm saying," Grandma replied, "that tonight I'm done pretending." She reached into the small woven purse hanging from her chair and pulled out a folded set of papers. Thick ones. The legal kind. My stomach flipped. I knew those papers. I'd seen paperwork like that at the station during estate notifications. Mason saw it too because his face drained faster than a cheap power bank at 1%. What is that?" he asked, voice shaking. Grandma didn't answer him. She looked at me. "Callie," she said softly, "honey, I want you to hear this first." My pulse hammered in my throat. The entire backyard leaned in. And Mason? He looked like he was 2 seconds away from passing out into the potato salad. Grandma unfolded the papers with slow, deliberate movements, the kind that mean a storm's coming. Then she spoke the first sentence, and my whole world tilted. What she revealed was so wild, so blindsiding, so life-flipping. Even I couldn't breathe for a second. And Mason? He wasn't ready. Grandma unfolded those papers like she was unwrapping a live grenade, slow, precise, and with this eerie calm that made the entire backyard hold its breath. Even the wind stopped. The string lights hummed. My heart thudded so hard, I swear the grass vibrated. And Mason? Bro looked like a man standing on train tracks, pretending it's just a breeze. Grandma cleared her throat softly, then read in this steady, courtroom-ready voice. "Effective immediately, all personal and property rights listed within the Monroe family estate." Mason's head snapped up. will be transferred into the sole and complete possession of Callie Monroe. Bro literally choked on his own spit. What? He spat, stumbling backwards so hard he almost fell into the folding table of deviled eggs. Someone dropped a plate. One of my aunts muttered, "Holy crap!" A toddler stopped mid-tantrum and just stared with wide eyes like, "Dang Grandma savage." But Grandma didn't flinch. She kept reading. The riverfront house, the land near Tybee Beach, the antique shop in Forsyth, the savings bonds, and all remaining assets named in the trust shall belong exclusively to my granddaughter, Callie. I blinked. Once. Twice. My brain was buffering like a slow Wi-Fi signal. Me, the girl they forget to invite to family pictures sometimes, the one who got a $20 bill for Christmas while Mason got a whole MacBook. But Grandma wasn't done, not even close. She flipped the page, slow enough that Mason looked like he wanted to bite it out of her hand. As for Mason Monroe, she continued, he will receive one item from the estate. Mason's face lit back up like a faulty Christmas light. I knew it, he said, chest puffing. I knew you wouldn't just... Grandma lifted one eyebrow. A single, she emphasized, silver dollar, dated 1998, the year he stopped listening. Oh! The crowd lost it. A couple cousins coughed to hide their laughter. Someone whispered, "She ethered him." One uncle made the quiet, damn sound people make when they watch someone get roasted beyond repair. Mason's jaw unhinged like a cartoon character. "That's it!" he shrieked. "A coin? You're giving me a coin!" Grandma didn't blink. "You haven't earned more." Mason looked around wildly at everyone like he expected someone to jump up and yell, "Just kidding," but nope. Nobody saved him. His eyes snapped to me like twin lasers. "This is because of you!" he hissed. "You manipulated her? What did you do?" I held my palms up. "Bro, I didn't even know this existed." "You're lying," he shouted, pointing at me like a deranged traffic conductor. "She's lying, Grandma's voice cut through him. "Mason, stop embarrassing yourself." He froze again, mid-shout, like someone smacked the mute button. "I made these decisions alone," Grandma said. "No one influenced me. I watched. I paid attention. And I chose the one person in this family who has shown actual integrity." My throat tightened. Her hand found mine and squeezed. "You've spent your whole life serving others, Callie. You've given more than you've ever received. And I won't leave this world without making sure someone finally gives to you." My eyes blurred instantly. The air went warm and wavy. My chest felt too small. "But Mason?" he snapped. Like fully snapped. He slammed his bourbon glass onto the table so hard it shattered, sending shards flying. Guests jumped. Someone screamed. Dad rushed toward him. Mom grabbed her purse like she was preparing for spiritual warfare. "This is bull!" he shouted, but Grandma held up her hand again. "Mason Monroe," she said sharply, "if you raise your voice at your sister or at me again, you will receive nothing, not even the coin." He shut up so fast you could hear his teeth click. The yard went dead silent again. And that's when Grandma folded the papers, slipped them back into her purse, and said, "This family changes tonight." I swear the ground trembled. But here's the crazy part, cutie pie. That wasn't even the big twist. The real shock. The part that made Mason's entire future collapse. Grandma hadn't told us the most important detail yet, and when she revealed it, even I couldn't stay standing. After Grandma dropped the "everything goes to Callie" nuclear announcement, the yard looked like one giant freeze frame. People weren't even pretending to chew anymore. Every fork hovered midair. Every drink was halfway to lips. And Mason? He looked hollow, like someone unplugged his soul and forgot to restart it. But Grandma still wasn't done. She eased herself back into her wicker chair, folded her hands over her blanket, and took a slow breath. The kind someone takes before saying something life-changing. I need everyone to listen, she said. Even the cicadas got quiet. I didn't make these decisions overnight. I've been preparing this for years. Years? Plural? My stomach flipped. Dad stepped forward, face tight. Mom? If this is because of something Callie said... Grandma cut him off so sharply it could have sliced the air. Richard, sit down. Dad actually obeyed. I have never seen that happen. Dude collapsed into a chair like his legs forgot how to function. Then Grandma looked at me, not with sadness, not pity, but this warm, fierce pride that made my chest tight. You remember that box I asked you to bring to my house a few months ago? She asked softly. I frowned. Yeah, I remembered. A little wooden box with an old ribbon around it, tucked away in her attic. She claimed it was photo albums, but it felt heavier than pictures. Now my heart was thundering because I suddenly knew it was important, really important, and I had never opened it. Mason waved his arms like a man drowning in denial. What box? He demanded. Why wasn't I told about a box? Grandma ignored him completely. That box, she said, eyes still on me, holds truth this family has pretended not to see for decades. Whispers shot through the tables. Aunts leaned in. Cousins exchanged looks. Mom stood there frozen like a mannequin whose batteries were dying. What truth? I whispered. Grandma took my hand again, her fingers trembling slightly. But her voice stayed steady. The truth, she said, about what really happened the night your father tried to disown you. My world stopped. Huh? Disown me? I felt the blood drain from my face. Mason's head whipped toward Dad. Wait, what? Dad's eyes went wide like Grandma had just exposed the launch codes. Mother? That situation was handled privately. It was covered up, Grandma corrected sharply. Covered up? Dad tried to disown me. My ears buzzed. I felt hot and cold at the same time. The ground felt too far away, like I wasn't standing on it properly. What did he do? I asked, my voice barely there. Grandma squeezed my hand tighter. When you were 19, she said, you refused to take the internship your father arranged, the one he insisted would shape your future. Yeah, I remember that internship. Sketchy hours, creepy boss, weird expectations. I refused. Dad lost his mind. He didn't just yell, Grandma continued. He filed paperwork. I blinked. What paperwork? Mom slumped into a chair, covering her face. Dad swallowed hard. Grandma's voice cracked for the first time all night. Richard attempted to legally sever guardianship and renounce you as his dependent, so he could redirect all educational funds to Mason. Every molecule in my body went still. I heard gasps around the yard. My chest tightened. My hands went numb. My vision blurred around the edges. Dad lifted both hands helplessly. Callie, you have to understand. I stepped back. No, what the hell? You tried to remove me from the family on paper? I thought you were being ungrateful, he shouted. You were supposed to go where I wanted. I was 19, I snapped. A grown adult trying to survive. You weren't helping me. You were trying to control me. Grandma stood again, shaky but determined. And I stopped him, she said. I burned every document, every signature, every trace, and I made sure he never had that chance again. Mason stared at Dad like he'd never seen him before. You were gonna cut her off for me, he whispered. Dad had no answer. Mom just cried. But the worst part, Grandma wasn't finished. She reached into her purse again, deeper this time, and pulled out another envelope, thick, sealed, heavy. "This," she said, "is the part none of you know." Her eyes locked on mine. "Callie, your father wasn't the only one who tried to erase you." Her voice trembled with anger. "And the person who did the most damage is someone you'd never suspect." My stomach dropped so fast I felt dizzy. Grandma held that thick, sealed envelope the way someone holds evidence, the kind that blows a whole case wide open. Her hand trembled just enough to make my stomach twist. I wasn't breathing. Nobody was breathing. You could practically hear the humidity waiting for the drama to drop. "Callie," Grandma said, eyes locked on mine, voice tight. "Your father wasn't the only one who tried to erase you." Mason leaned forward like he was watching a season finale he didn't pay for. Dad shook his head fast. "Mother, don't." "Oh, I'm absolutely going to," Grandma snapped. Mom's voice squeaked out. "Lila, please." "Jennifer," Grandma cut her off. "You should have thought about that before you signed papers you weren't supposed to touch." Mom went white, like chalk white, like ghost on vacation white. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Signed what? What papers?" I stepped forward. "Grandma, what is she talking about?" Grandma exhaled slowly, like releasing 50 years of disappointment in one long breath. "Callie," she said, "the person who did the most damage was your mother." The world tilted so hard I had to steady myself on the back of a chair. "My mother," I whispered. Mom covered her mouth, shaking. Mason muttered under his breath, "Bro, what the hell is happening?" Grandma tore open the envelope. Inside were photocopies, old ones yellowed around the edges. She held up the first page. "This," she announced, "is the letter your mother wrote to the board of trustees at the academy you applied to." I frowned. "What academy?" Grandma's voice softened. "You never got the acceptance letter." I blinked fast. "I didn't get in." Grandma shook her head. "No, sweetheart, you did get in. You earned a full scholarship. The school sent 3 letters. I saw the originals before your mother intercepted them." My brain shut down for a second. "Intercepted? As in, stole my mail?" Mason actually whispered, "Yo, that's illegal." Mom squeezed her eyes shut like a guilty toddler. Grandma unfolded the letter and read, "To whom it may concern, please disregard any future correspondence addressed to my daughter, Callie Monroe. She's no longer pursuing enrollment. Any offers should be withdrawn. Her temperament and emotional instability make her unfit for your program." My feet went numb. Emotional instability? What? I felt heat rush up my spine like my whole nervous system was glitching. Mom shot up from her chair, crying, "Callie, I didn't want you moving out of state. You were only 18. You weren't ready." I stared at her. "You stole my future because you weren't ready?" She reached toward me with shaking hands. "I was trying to protect you." "No," I snarled, stepping back. "You were protecting your control." Dad covered his face. Cousins were whispering. Even the band, who was supposed to start the next song, stood there frozen like backup dancers who missed their cue. Grandma held up the next page. "And this," she said, "is worse." My stomach dropped again. It was a school withdrawal form, signed by my mother, before I ever knew the program existed. Mom sobbed harder. "I thought if you stayed close to home, I could guide you. I thought you needed direction." "From you?" I snapped. "You couldn't guide a grocery cart." Mason let out a nervous laugh, then immediately shut it down when Grandma shot him a look. "It doesn't end there," Grandma said. Oh, God. She pulled out one more document. This one looked official, government official. My hand started shaking before I even knew what it was. Grandma's voice cracked. This is the form your mother attempted to file to claim you as financially dependent until age 26. So she could keep collecting the stipend your father's job provided. My jaw dropped open. Mom's screams turned frantic. I did it to support you! You needed money, Grandma thundered. You stole her mail. You stole her chances. You tried to steal her independence. You used her life as a paycheck. Mom collapsed into her chair, sobbing like she'd been shot. And me? I felt something inside me break. Not sadness, not shock, something sharper, colder, final, because the very person who should have fought for me was fighting to keep me small. But Grandma wasn't finished. She leaned in, voice low, dangerous. Callie, there's one last truth you need to hear, and it concerns why your mother did all of this. She lifted the final page, and when she said the first sentence, my entire reality snapped in half. Grandma held that last page like it weighed more than the whole house behind her. Like the truth inside it wasn't just heavy, it was radioactive. My pulse was thundering, my breath stuck somewhere between my lungs and my fear. Mom was still sobbing into her hands. Dad sat there stiff as stone. Mason looked like he was about to faint into the potato salad. And Grandma whispered, Callie, your mother did all of this because she was never supposed to have a daughter. The whole backyard seemed to tilt. My brain didn't even process the sentence at first, like it bounced off my skull, circled around, and then hit me again harder. What? I said, voice shaking. Mom lifted her face, mascara streaked, eyes swollen. Lila, stop! She begged. Please, please don't. Grandma ignored her. She opened the page, a medical form, an old one, a very old one. This is the prenatal record from before you were born, Grandma said. A record I requested years ago when I started noticing discrepancies. Mom lunged for the paper, but Grandma was faster than a woman her age should be. No, she snapped. You've hidden enough. My chest tightened. Every instinct screamed that the ground was about to drop out from under me. What discrepancy? I asked, breathless. Grandma looked right at me as she said, You were supposed to be a boy? My heart stopped. Dad flinched like someone slapped him. Mason's mouth fell open, and Mom broke completely. That's not the whole story, she sobbed. I wasn't. But Grandma kept going. Your mother, she said slowly, was promised money, a large amount from her own father's trust, money she would only receive if she gave birth to a son. The world went silent. Not quiet, silent. My stomach twisted so hard I almost bent over. Mom was shaking her head violently. No, I wanted you. Callie. I did. But Grandma's voice rose like a hammer. Jennifer, stop lying. You spent years resenting her because you believed she cost you your inheritance. My vision blurred. My ears rang. Everything felt far away. Dad whispered, stunned. You told me your father cut you off for no reason. Mom wailed into her hands. And that, Grandma said, is why she sabotaged every opportunity Callie ever had. Why she intercepted acceptance letters. Why she tried to keep her financially dependent. Why she pushed her away from anything that would let her succeed. My throat tightened so painfully I could hardly speak. Because I wasn't a boy, I whispered. Mom crawled toward me on her knees, literally grabbing my hand. Callie, please, I didn't know any better. I thought if you stayed close, I could make it right. I pulled my hand back like her touch burned. You didn't want to make it right, I said quietly. You wanted to make me pay. Her face crumpled. Dad stood abruptly. You lied to all of us, he said, voice shaking in anger. You let me blame her. You let me yell at her. You let me believe she was rebellious. Mom screamed, "I was trying to survive." I stared at her for a long, cold second. Then I said, "And you used me as the price." Her sob echoed across the yard. Grandma stepped closer, resting a hand on my shoulder. "You deserve the truth," she whispered, "and now you have it, all of it." I swallowed hard, my voice stronger than I felt. "So, what happens now?" Grandma straightened with this fierce fire in her eyes. "Now, you live your life on your own terms, not your father's, not your mother's, not anymore." I nodded slowly, chest aching but lighter than it had ever felt. Mason looked at me, guilt spreading across his face. "Cal, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." I believed him. Not enough to forgive him, but enough to understand he was a product of the same twisted system. I took a deep breath, stepped forward, and spoke loud enough for the entire yard to hear. "I'm done being quiet. I'm done being small. I'm done letting this family shrink me to fit their broken expectations." Grandma smiled, proud, exhausted, relieved. And that's when the rehook lands. Because just when I thought the chaos was over, just when I thought the truth had finally been dragged into the light, a car pulled up to the curb, door slammed, footsteps approached. And the person walking into the backyard, the last person I expected to see. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Silent Revenge Lab for more jaw-dropping twists just like this.